That's crazy. That is wild. All right, we're going to do a thing called Holy Grail for you. This is an old tune of mine, gospel-y in nature-ish. And I like it. 1, 2, 3. Wow, that felt good. That one felt good. I said, no, that one felt good. All right, that one felt good. Now that one felt good. All right. That's a song called Holy Grail from back in the day. Steve Andreoni on bass today. Of course, that's my son Dylan on the doggone drums. And it's all good for your soul. It's all good for your soul to embark on these types of activities. Good for your soul. Jay Knutson, we don't know that one, as a matter of fact, with this lineup, the leg up and the foot out. We don't know that one. Let's try that. Chicago, go. Steve never played this one before, but except for in sound check. Here we go. something called the Villanova Junction by Jim Hendrix. You know, I saw somebody out there saying it was thinking it was Tender Surrender. That happens quite a bit. And to me, of course, I have a hard time understanding that because I grew up on Hendrix, and I didn't really know the Steve Vai version until we saw the Steve Vai show, and he did a song. I was like, oh, that sounds like Villanova Junction. But again, with music, it all depends on where you start the damn clock. You know what I'm saying? Where are you starting the clock? Some people started that clock with Mr. Vai, and they said, oh, that's his song. But no, in fact, Slim Jim Hendrix was the first one to put on Mr. Warbly Pedal. To get those crazy sounds to the kids. Crazy sound. Pete says every time the Univibe kicks in, I want to do my James Dewar impression. James Dewar, of course, was the singer in Robin Trower's band. Robin Trower, of course, was well familiar with the Univibe because he was a Hendrix acolyte. After he saw Jimi Hendrix play, I believe it was, he saw him play in Berlin right towards the end of his run on planet Earth. It was his last, I think his very last concert was in Berlin, and Robin Trower saw it, and it was transformational for him, and he became who he was afterwards with doing the Univibe thing. Can you dig it? A little Jim lore there for you. Jim Lou. We got Johnny C. out there. We got Mike Cudahy out there. Those are Steve Andreoni's compatriots in a band called Sugo. Sugo here in town. Sugo here in town. Sugo here in town. Oh, that song called Sugo here in town. Did you hear that shit? Damn, Sam. We're gonna do a little thing right now, I reckon. We haven't done this one in a while. Let's do a little bit of that JSK for the kids. We messed around with that while you were in the house. In tune is relative. 1, 2, 3, 4. was an old tune of mine from the 4 Days in the South record. And that was a song called JSK for John Stephen Koch, my youngest child. He got his own song. They all get their own songs. They all got their songs. They all got their own songs, but that's kind of a fun. That's a kind of a fun one. Yeah, Johnny C played on that one back in the day. Johnny C played on that one back in the day. Johnny C played on that one back in the day. Back in the doyum. Back in the day, he played on that mighty jam. Oh, that was a good one. You know, back in the day, he played on that mighty jam. Oh, shit. Oh, we got the Turn of the Burners out there now in Music Land. In the Music Land, we have the burner known as Shane Thew. Shane Thew. Shane Thew. He always uses mysterious names online. He doesn't want to be prowled upon. Don't prowl upon the burner. Don't prowl upon the burner. Is the chord chart available for that anywhere? It looks like a fun one to get. You know, I'm trying to think, is JSK on my book of transcriptions, the best of Greg Koch. Ooh, the hits of yesterday and never. If you go on my websites, and look in the shop, there is my Hal Leonard books, of which there are a few, but there's one called The Best of Myself, G.K. And see if it's on there. I can't remember. Do you ever play Fool's Gold? That's a good one, too, from that 4 Days in the South record. I was just listening. It came on my random shuffle on my phone the other day. I thought, this is a good song. If I may be so bold as to say, you record this stuff and out it goes, and then like decades go by, and then all of a sudden it comes up in your thing, and you're like, damn, I wasn't crazy. That shit's good. Wow, that sounds like a personal statement. And it was, if we're honest. Okay, we're going to do a little song, another tune of mine called, is this, Mike Cudahy asks, is this guitar scaled up like the Reverend Telly? It is indeed, just slightly larger. And also I did new pickups with Fishman with this guitar. And it is a bad mofo. And has a second voice for the pickups right here. Sweet, sweet sound. Remember that one? He remembers it. We had a request from our man, Matty K. Matty K wanted to hear a little bit of that sweet, sweet song from back in the day called The Vote Shuffle. And we'd like to play it for you. I want to. God's little thing called Devotee Shuffle. That one was on that. What record was that? I can't remember anymore. My brain is. There's too many records. Too many records to remember. Don't be afraid to follow on the various different streaming platforms, or just buy hard copies of the stuff. I'd appreciate that. But the whole repertoire is out there. And I don't know, when I get into somebody, I kind of check out their whole thing. So it's all out there for you. I'd like to say, people are like, boy, you've been really experiencing an uptick in your career as of late. It's like, yeah, hiding in plain sight for 45 years. But you know what? I'll take what I can get. It's the bottom line. Who was Vody? Asked Ryan Fitzsimmons. Vody was an excellent drummer in a band called Leroy Airmaster in town, and he was a buddy of mine. And he passed away a few years ago, and that was a bummer. So I came up with a song in dedication to the shuffle master himself. Vody Reinhardt. Can you dig it? No guns out today for Dylan. Dylan, the gun show. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Look out.
They're hiding.
There's a lot of stuff happening there. Did T. Lavitz play on Sure Bets? Yes, he did. Actually, on my whole first record, almost all the tracks are T. Lavitz. He played on that. He actually did a nice solo on 265 as well, but for whatever reason, in the moment, we ended up not using it for whatever reason. I remember Dave, the engineer / producer at the time, there was some discrepancies on what we wanted. And anyway, yeah, so T is on the first record a lot, and that is the record with Beg, Borrow, and Steal on it, and Ain't Got Problems Like I Do. The original Tonus Diabolicus is on the first one. The eponymous Greg Hawk and the Tone Controls with the tone knobs like invading saucers above the scape of Milwaukee. Can you dig it? All right. Can you dig it? I dig it. I'm into the digging. All right. 265, we could do that. All right, that's been a while. The intro is always a weird thing to get in on. 1, 2, and then they go into it, right? 1, 2. You hear that? Hey, Jam Pedals has, look at that monstrous hand. I'm actually using my Jam Pedals Cockness Monster pedal as we speak. Cockness Monster as we speak. Cockness Monster as we speak. As we speak. Cockness Monster as we speak. Song called Cockness Monster as we speak. Can you dig it? Are you all having fun out there? That's a little 265 from my record Strat's Got Your Tongue that actually played a sweet Stratocaster on back in the day. But now I have my own Gristle ST with the special pickups on board. And it is delicious. Look at it. Check it. Check it. Play some slide. I kind of want to play some slide. What slide should we do? What guitar is it? This is my signature Reverend Gristle ST. You know what? I could. Why don't I do this? We'll switch guitars here for a minute. We'll switch guitars here for a hot second. This is another one of my signature guitars, and this is a Reverend Gristle 90 with also pickups that I worked on with Fishman that are proprietary, Gregory S. Kuchenheimer Schmidt approved signature implements. Signature implements, they're good for your soul. Signature implements, they're good for your soul, ladies and gentlemen. Folks, this is not a paid advertisement, but if I were to do a paid advertisement, I'd say this Waterloo Black Cherry sparkling water is a banger. Oh, you know, someone asked for not only Can't Be Satisfied, but Nubby. Can you do Nubby? I got to remember all these damn words. But I can, you know why? Because, I don't know, I just remember stuff sometimes. Whoa! Hang on, you know what? This fucking thing. Sorry, did I say it out loud? Sometimes I use inappropriate language to express myself, but it's not inappropriate because I needed to do it. Won't be back no more. Going down south, child, don't you wanna go? Lord, I'm trouble. I'll be all worried now. But I just can't be satisfied. I just can't keep from crying. Can't remember the words. Going downstairs, but I ain't seen the doggone thing. Lord, I'm troubled. I'll be all worried, man. Well, I just can't be satisfied. I just can't keep from crying. sleep. Hear that doorbell ring. Going downstairs, Lord, I ain't seen a doggone thing. Lord, I'm troubled. I'll be all worried mine. But I just can't be satisfied. I just can't keep from crying. Well, you know my little old lady, she gonna jump and shout. When that train rolls in, Lord, and I'll be stumbling out. Lord, I'm troubled. I'll be all worried mine. But I just can't be satisfied. I just can't keep from crying. Nubby must have been a hard old man. They've been taking his stuff by day and night. That's right. Ever since he went away. Well, now a clown car house it must have been. I got no idea how he fit it all in. Now they're hauling it all the way. A rusty pickup and a U-Haul truck. They brought 10 semis and it wouldn't have been enough to haul all the stuff away. Well, now the kids and the parties and the grandkids too. There's enough for them and enough for you. That's right. Coming home is crap away. Nubby had the cleanest sidewalk in town. Now he and his broom are nowhere to be found. He's moved on the higher ground. Now he and his broom are nowhere to be found. That's a song that was on that Koch Marshall Trio record called From the Upna. And there's some good stuff on there. That's a song called Nubby the Hoarder Man about a neighbor I never knew. I'm going to use this delicious. This is a new instrument in my arsenal. This is a Heritage H535, a CC from the custom shop there. Custom Core. It's badass. It's badass. Ladies and gentlemen, it's badass. Ladies and gentlemen, it is badass. Don't give me any sass, because it is badass. You know what? Don't give me any sass. Motherfucker's badass. We had a request for the Charmer. The Charmer was requested. Do you remember the Charms? I think we'll make it through. Remember the end, we just kind of keep on cycling those chords at some point. Let me tune this rascal up to make sure I'm ready to engage in a little bit of fiendish activity. Fiendish activity is what we're all about. Fiendish activity, it's what we're all about. Friends, fiendish activity. All right, I'm tuning it up here. Oh, shit. What did I do? Oh, shit. I'm using inappropriate language again. Good thing we're on the internet. Good thing we're on the internet. A 1, 2, 3, 4. brought forth the heat on that particular selection. That selection called the Rex Charmer, ladies and gentlemen. Rex Charmer is good for your soul. Rex Charmer. Let's do a little. That's all right? Or we could do a. All right. We can do whatever we want. that was a rather festive version of a song called Steppin' Out. An old Memphis Slim song, as a matter of fact. He was a piano player, and he would go. And then, of course, Cream did it. Clapton did it in the Blues Breakers with Eric Clapton. John Mayall's Blues Breakers with Eric Clapton. And yeah, it's a good one. Listen, folks, we appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. That helps us in the grand scheme of things. Also, follow on TikTok, Greg Koch Official, at Greg Koch Official. Dylan is actually taking charge of my TikTok account and is finding footage and doing interesting mashups, if you will. Mashups. And all that kind of stuff. Can you dig it all? And of course, if you can follow on all the different platforms, we appreciate it. All that stuff helps in the grand scheme of things. Hey, we'd like to book you on this festival, but we need you to have X amount of subscribers on these different platforms. And you're like, really? How about just musics? How about just musics? How about just me? How about that Dylan James Koch on the drums? That's my boy back there. That's my firstborn child. I have 4 of the creatures, not 4 Dylans, 4 children. And of course, we have Steve Andreoni on the bass, ladies and gentlemen. Also hailing from beautiful Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, ladies and gentlemen, a place of great power is our Wisconsin. We appreciate you tuning in. Who's the bass player? I just said it with the bass player. This is Steve Andreoni. Doggone it. Doggone it. You know, it's the crazy internet. Sometimes, like as we were playing, I saw something. Can you please play JSK? I was like, isn't that weird? We played JSK early on in the thing, but you know, that person tuning in at that point in time didn't know. We didn't know, but I know, and I'm like, we just played it. That's a crazy world. But you can go back. And what is he playing? He's playing a Fender jazz bass. It's a reissue of a '66 jazz bass, as a matter of fact. And it's all good, clean fun for the kids. I know you can't do Goon, but I enjoy anything you play. Thank you very much. Goon, you haven't played that one in a while. Doom, doom, dang, good nigga. Work that one up. I wrote some crazy tunes back in the day with some crazy little sections. It's made me the thousandaire I am today, ladies and gentlemen. Well, listen, thank you so much for tuning in. It's 5 after 7. No, 7 after 5. We'll see you guys on Monday, maybe. Yeah, I'm going to be around Monday. Yeah. I think what we're going to do is we're going to switch it up. We're going to have Burner on Mondays, and then we'll have Steve on Fridays. We'll mix it up. We do some different songs with the different fellas, and it's fun. We like to mix it up. We mix it up with the different fellas. We mix it up with the different fellas. Elliot Chambers asked, "Where's the big fella on bass?" You mean Turn of the Burner? He has a food truck, and he has a food truck that he does. And Friday, the weekends are where he excels. Actually, they're playing tonight. He's also in his band called the Erotic Adventures of the Static Chicken. Of course he is, and it's a glorious ensemble. And they're playing tonight at a place called Ope, and we might go on over there and check him out in action. Turner the Burner. He plays in a band. It's Turner the Burner on bass. It's Jerry Kuzniar on drums. And it is Aaron Gardner on bass. Sorry, on saxophone. Why did I say bass?
Turner on bass.
Jesus Christ. There's two basses and a set of drums. No. And they do like weird loop stuff, and everything is improvised in the moms. And my favorite is when they're into a groove and they're playing all crazy shit, and there's like drum loops going on and saxophone lines happening, and Turner's doing some kind of a thing, and then he'll just go up to the microphone and do extemporaneous poetry. That's the best part of the evening. You never know what that sumbitch is going to say. All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a pleasant weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. Don't forget to what is it?
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you, folks, so much.